another commentary channel. Today, we're going to look at a list of close calls where nuclear war has been avoided in the past. For some reason, I think maybe some of us might be thinking about nuclear war. I want to show you all of the great times throughout history, starting in 1960, where it almost happened, but it didn't. So I don't know if this is going to help. You're probably still terrified. On the 5th of October, 1960, in Thule, Greenland, radar equipment picked up the moon rising over Norway as a Soviet missile launch. But it just so happened the leader of the Soviet Union was visiting New York City at the time, Nikita Khrushchev, and he was head of the USSR's United Nations delegation. I don't know what that means really, but look, that means that NORAD, they checked into the legitimacy of this, and it just so happens that it was all a misunderstanding. On the 24th day of the year, in 1961, two B-52 bombers crashed and broke apart over Goldsboro, North Carolina. Do I need to explain this one? I don't think I need to go any further. The bombs didn't go off. Two of the crewmen died in the crash, unfortunately, and the others ejected safely and landed. The official report on this, and I quote, they said, the two planes crashing could have caused a nuclear explosion. On the 24th day of November 1961, NORAD lost communication with two separate warning systems. The Strategic Air Command headquarters, or the SAC HQ, lost communication with NORAD and a list of other ballistic missiles test sites. So things looked terrifying. They thought it was suspicious and they got ready to go to nuclear war, but they just ended up not getting ready because someone found out that there was like a fuse in Colorado that went out. So all of that happened because of some faulty electronics. On the 25th day of October 1962, Santa brought you a nuclear bomb that didn't explode. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, the people in charge of the U.S. figured almost for certain sabotage would take place directly before a Soviet missile strike. So on this day, at Duluth Sector Direction Center, whatever that is. Look, Wikipedia doesn't say if it's in Duluth, Georgia. There was some guy climbing a fence to the military, to the military. That's where they are. That's where the military is. How do you think that that's going to end well? Seriously, no matter what your language or background is, I seriously don't see how you could think that climbing fence surrounding a military compound is going to end in anything but, at very best, just arrest. I mean, holy shit. Get this. The military acted like I just acted, and they made assumptions. They thought it was a guy. It was a bear. It was a bear that was climbing the fence. So they shot at the bear. It doesn't say if the bear got hurt. They shot at the bear, and this caused the sabotage alarms to go off. I'm assuming they must have hit something, they must have hit military property with bullets. So that would raise alarm. At the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis, Soviet submarine B-59 nearly went for it. They nearly went for the money and launched the big boy at some submarines that were essentially bullying them. So B-59 dove past detection, and Moscow couldn't get a hold of them, and so Moscow was worried. So the commander of the B-59, he was thinking that war had already started, and he was getting ready. Oh man, yeah. And then this guy, Vasily Arkhipov, hero, literally one of the only real heroes that I can actually think of that everybody knows about, except you. As I recall, this guy had the final say, and he just said no, and he demanded that they surface before they do anything and contact HQ. Vasily Arkhipov, dude, everybody knows you, G. You're the man. On November 9th, 1965, the command center for the Office of Emergency Planning went on high alert because of a gigantic power outage in the Northeast U.S. So this is the way that I'm assuming the government puts this so as to not look dumb. I mean, they didn't bomb anybody, right? They made sure but here's what happened. The government had these mechanisms, these electronics mechanisms on the power grids that would detect if this outage was from a normal means, you know, maybe a fire or a big accident, an 18-wheeler runs into the lines, right? They know if it's that or a nuclear blast, these electronics that they had installed. And so instead of admitting that they just don't work, they say that they malfunction. So basically, it was not a nuclear blast, and these electronics said, it's a nuclear blast, it's a nuclear blast. So it wasn't, though. So who could have thought that in 1965, the intuition in military electronic, tell me, seriously, tell me how it would know. Because how would you know that? I'm sure there's an answer. I'm sure there's a real answer, and I look dumb. That's fine. Oh my God. You know, the more I read this, the more I just, man, we're pretty dumb, dude. I mean, we didn't bomb anybody, though. Nobody has been bombed. On the 23rd of May, 1967, a solar flare and a coronal mass ejection interfered with NORAD's radar. And they interpreted this as the Soviets jamming their radar. They almost started the end of the world, but they didn't. Let's stay positive here. Again, this is the list of times we've lived. We did it, dude. This was the height of all this, okay? On the 15th day of April, 1969, normal Americans were filing their tax returns, probably. I don't know if the tax date has changed. It appears as though North Korea shot down some military aircrafts of ours, of the United States. My God, imagine a list that paints Henry Kissinger as a hero. So after this, Richard Nixon, who was wasted, a wasted Richard Nixon, if you had to draw the Satan, if you had to draw the devil, it would look a lot like him. That's all I'm trying to say. But unbelievably, Beelzebub himself, Henry Kissinger, stepped in and he said, don't start nuclear Armageddon. Henry Kissinger said that? Anyways, guys, that's the end of the 1960s. Stay tuned for, wow, what if I put in like this graphic of like my studio blowing up, and it would be so like poignant or whatever the hell it is. Listen, if you guys want to watch these videos, then come back, and after having subscribed, continue. So subscribe, and then after having subscribed, continue to view them, because that's what you wanted. More thumbnail just in case. Kind of like this vibe right here. Yep. Okay. Okay, that is enough. It's for the thumbnail. This is for the thumbnail. Okay, that should be enough thumbnail.